Hello, 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 hello. Yeah, hi guys. Thank you for joining the live stream. Good evening to our 21st episode of discussing the Brahma Puran. We are almost near the end of the volume 1 of Brahma Puran. And I'm wondering, does anyone have any copy of the original Brahma Puran, whether in Sanskrit or whatever regional language you speak, at their homes? Does anyone know how thick the original is? Because so far, based on all the translations I've read, and the translations all the things that I read in translations, and when I do check out some of it in the original languages as well, whether in Sanskrit or Bengali, I've basically come to realize that I think it must have been obvious to other people who have read way more than me that English basically takes up a lot more space, a lot more sentence, a lot more words to describe things mentioned in Indian languages, which take up usually much lesser space, much shorter words, much shorter sentences, explain a lot, or at least describe and thrust in more information. First and foremost is our issue of Juktakshar, right? Since there are so many conjoined words in Sanskrit and Bengali, when I'm reading the Srivigyan Bhairav Tantra, I'm noticing that every shlok is like 2 sentences, right? But in order to explain that properly, even if it's just word for word translation, okay, just not even commentary, just explaining what was mentioned in the shlok, okay, even for that, the translator is requiring at least 5 to 6 lines, okay. So I'm understanding that all our translations, maybe let's say the Brahma Puran, if this is just volume 1 and volume 2 is almost as thick, the original is probably not this thick. The original, whether it's in Sanskrit or in Bengali, that will be probably much thinner, right? And it will take much shorter time to read in Indian languages, I think. Let me check some comments. Late jihad korbe na. Yes, today we are all victims of late jihad. Anyone watch the vaccine wars? I don't know. Has it even released in Kolkata? I don't think. What is the status with Vivek Ramaswamy? Yeah, Vivek lost the debate basically yesterday because everyone came prepared. Everyone knew that, no, this guy is too much. This guy prepares too much. This guy is out of control. We basically have no counters in terms of actual real life policy that are popular. All we can do is just shut him up somehow or the other. And yeah, unless Trump now... Unless Trump gets actually convicted and actually gets jail time and actually is barred from running, Vivek is not going to be the nominee. But if he is the nominee, it's going to be fun. And see, the Democrats were having fun because they thought that, okay, let Trump become president. We have Joe Biden. Joe Biden has already beaten him. But now they have realized that because Trump was always polling behind Joe Biden up until just even 7-8 months, okay. Now the polls are showing that if it's Trump versus Joe Biden, even then Trump is going to win. They were thinking of having some backup in Gavin Newsom or Obama's wife. If someone other than Trump wins, if Vivek or DeSantis won, they would not have let Joe Biden run anyway. But now that it's almost guaranteed that Trump is going to beat even Joe Biden, now they are already going to come up with solutions. Joe Biden is probably going to announce that he's too sick to run or something. It's not going to be Kamala Harris. Democrats and their data scientists know what's up and how popular Kamala Harris is. So Gavin Newsom is going to have a debate with Ron DeSantis all of a sudden out of the blue for basically absolutely no reason other than it's going to be a great show where everyone is going to make a lot of money. It's going to be a WWE of politics. So it's even being promoted that way already. DeSantis is wearing sunglasses and it's a big matchup that they're waiting for. It's like a UFC pose down, okay. So, but the point to note is why do we need this debate? Okay, a random governor of a random state, maybe one of the most popular governors in the party, and another governor of another state who is not even the most popular or something. Okay, even liberals agree that yeah, California is not that great after all. Okay, California has law and order problems. That much even liberals agree. So why all of a sudden a debate between these two? Someone is pushing these narratives, someone is pushing these actions, and someone is saying that yeah, do a debate now. We'll finance it, and it's basically Democrats who are doing this. And if you see any interview of Gavin Newsom, whether it's with liberal journalists, whether it's with Fox journalists, Gavin Newsom is what Joe Biden exactly was until 2012 or mainly in 2008. Okay, Gavin Newsom is insanely sharp. He is the evil version of Vivek Ramaswamy, basically. He can debate. He comes up with ideas on the spot, unless he is pushed on things that he himself doesn't believe in. But just he goes along with it just for political convenience. So the only time he stammers a little is when transgenderism issue comes up. Okay, so he was a neoliberal. He's not a woke guy by any means. He's doing those things now for his political expediency. But that's why anytime he's asked on those extreme far left topics, cultural left topics, he shakes up a little. But other than that, he's casual. He mocks his opponents perfectly, and where the mocking is not like, it's so awkward, it's so evil. It's the kind of mocking that makes you rile up and think of him like a follower, and you feel like standing up behind him, that yes, that guy's a fucking asshole and will follow you, sir. So he has that leadership quality which Trump even has, and Trump has that extra sense of humor which Gavin Newsom doesn't have. But Obama, Joe Biden, Gavin Newsom, all these three people were exactly the same qualities. They were all great debaters. Joe Biden has now become an old person, but anyone should see Joe Biden's debate with Paul Ryan, okay, in probably the 2012 vice presidential debate. Oh my God. You have never seen a beating of that kind. वो जो बोलते हैं ना, destroyed in debate. This is the kind of political debate where there was no policy substance even, but even then with just rhetoric. Just coming up with the minimum possible counters. Even with that, Joe Biden destroyed Paul Ryan. How Vivek lost the debate? Because he could not get his points through, because his popularity is not going to go up to a much high of an extent as last time, and he did not come. He did basically that his points did not get to go through, and no one learned anything, I think. Oh, internet is back. So yeah, I was saying that Vivek Ramaswamy has lost the debate last night because he was not able to make any clear, coherent point. He was not able to come up with any cool counters, because everyone was united on one thing, that we have to not let Vivek talk at all. Stop that guy first, okay? Then we will think about ourselves. So and Nikki Haley, what a fucking annoying woman. So all of them basically came up with the single agenda that we have to stop Vivek. So he was not able to get through one counter. He was not able to promote any of his own policies, and half the guys were some of them, all of them were taking up, were stealing basically one policy from Vivek and saying that, see, we need to do this, as if it's such an obvious thing, as if they have been talking about it for 2-3 years. No, they were not talking about any of those policies up until the last debate even. All of them are now researching Vivek from a data science perspective. They are asking their researchers and PR teams that which ideas, which policies sell. I first need to be visible in the social media. So tell me, what do I need to talk about to be visible? Why is this guy Vivek Ramaswamy suddenly so popular? What is he talking about? So they are taking away some policies from Vivek, and then also countering him for saying the exact same things. So it was absolutely hilarious. Gavin Newsom is gonna eat up DeSantis. Seems like it. Like he couldn't counter their points. He did not have the chance to counter their points. Vivek can never win debates since he's too polite. He did win the debates last time because he was not polite. This time, I guess he's listening to his consultants now that he needs to be a little polite. I don't know why he did that. Or maybe someone has found some evil thing in his history. Vivek's biggest problem is funds. Actually true. If he had a little more bit of funds, then he could basically do TV ads. Vivek is not doing any TV ads at all. And without TV ads, you can't reach the 45-year-old and above conservatives of the entire country. Okay, how many 50-year-old guys, 55-year-old guys are going to sit around listening to podcasts? So funds are a huge problem with that. Namaskaram, linguist. Let me check some more comments. Arnav Chakraborty, I watched Vaccine Wars today. Epic movie, must watch. Here to learn. That's the power of Sanskrit to compress into sutras. Yeah, that seems like it. Okay. And as for Vaccine Wars, I want to say that I listened to half of the interview Vivek Agnihotri did with Jaipur Dialogues. So basically the things he was saying about the American vaccines, anyone who follows American politics or American podcasts, all of us knew these things from basically day one. All the experts that were banned in mainstream media or were getting their Twitter handles deleted, or they were getting reported abused, or they were getting fired from their jobs, all those people were coming to Joe Rogan's podcast and saying these same things. I listened to all of them. All of these guys were PhDs, doctors from established mainstream universities. They were not some doing some research in some farmhouse in Texas. So it's great that now Indians are finding out about it because of Vivek Agnihotri. But yes, this was common knowledge to a very specific section of people who listen to American podcasts, and specifically Joe Rogan. Everything that people were criticized for saying in terms of corona, and for saying things that were called a conspiracy theory, got proven 4 or 5 months later to be exactly true. Trump talked about hydroxychloroquine. Everyone said he's a nut job. When I had corona in my family, my entire family had corona, we were given hydroxychloroquine. Joe Rogan got criticized heavily for saying that he took ivermectin. My girlfriend's family got corona, they got recommended ivermectin. Then one of my best friends, I stopped talking to her after this basically. No, I had stopped talking to her for another political thing only. But then I was visiting her profile, and I saw that I have still kept the screenshots because I can be petty sometimes. I was mocking China all day long. I was calling it Kung Flu virus because Trump called it. And she said, she was posting about me that, see, Nirajan has become such a right-wing nut job. He's defending all evil right-wing racist talking points. He's blaming Chinese people. So, hilariously. Oh, and then I said, of course, it came from a lab. Why wouldn't it come from a lab? Joe Biden is China's best friend forever politically in the American political system. So Trump, he was supposed to win definitely, most obviously, and just before that, mysteriously a virus comes out from a country near a lab, and because of that Trump loses, and there's no connection among all these fucking factors. So many coincidences happened all at once. What the fuck? And so they said that, yeah, it definitely didn't come from a lab. It definitely came from bats. And there's definitely no conspiracy. Definitely not done by China purposely. And of course, any vaccine that America came up with on day one had to be worshipped. And all that was bullshit. Proven later on that it was bullshit. And the funniest part was that I was criticizing the Chinese government for unleashing this vaccine on the world. They were saying that, no, you are racist for blaming the Chinese government. Instead, let's blame the Chinese people for eating bats and unleashing the virus on the world by eating bats. Okay, so you are racist if you blame the government of a country, and you are not racist if you blame the diet of the people of that country. Okay, that's how insanity. That's how much insanity was going on at that moment. Okay, let me just change the chat to live chat and not top chat. This is always confusing. Okay. For now, Trump is only hope. Yes. The only difference is that Modi has better communication than Trump. Yes. Is it really better? I think they are, as for the elite, they are equally bad, right? Because the elite in our country hates Modi, elite in their country hates Trump. And as for connecting directly to the poor people, there I think Trump and Modi do an equally good job. Hello bhai, pujote kota show korcho. I'm not doing live shows for the last few years after I had an accident, but I'm planning to get back to it. Are people ready for Durga Puja, Durga Carnival? And before I start Brahma Puran, one other thing to discuss, that status I posted about racism of people who most complain about racism. Based on the counters I received and the pushback I received, some interesting conclusions have therefore come up. My argument is that Dravidians, Bengalis of Kolkata, African Americans, Northeasterners, these are off the top of your head. You can think of who complain about being victims of racism the most in the world. And if you scrutinize their cultures in their societies, in their localities, you will find that these are exceptionally, insanely racist societies. Okay. Now, so one thing I really need to clarify is that when I'm repeatedly bringing up the death of Nilutpal and Abhijit in 2015, probably, or 16, 17, I don't remember exactly, which I shared even. Yeah, I think 17 only. Where two Ahomia kids, even before that, another Ahomia kid got beaten to death by Karbi people in the Karbi Anglong area of Assam. I'm pointing out that Northeast, when people in Northeast are killing each other for their race or for being from a different tribe, no one is even uttering the word racism when it should be uttered, okay? But at the same time, if someone calls them one wrong bad word in the streets of Delhi, you'll never hear the end of it. It's going to go on for the rest of their life, okay? That, see, Delhi is so racist. Delhi and the streets of New York, the most racist cities in the world, okay? That's what I have a problem with. I am never going to make the case that Ahomia people also in general are not racist, okay? That's not the case at all. I dated an Assamese girl for a while, I know, okay? So if in the end, in conclusion, if your case is that every Indian society and every Indian state or every Indian ethnicity and language, people speaking a particular language is racist to some degree, then I have no problems with you, okay? I agree with you. If your case is that only Bengalis are racist, I have a problem with you. And if your case is that everyone is racist, only Bengalis are not racist at all, which a case that someone was making, really, that how can you say Bengalis are racist? How he was absolutely astonished that I claimed that Bengalis are racist, and I was even pretty surprised that why is he being so astonished? How can he be so surprised that I'm making the case that Bengalis are racist? So there we will have to discuss lots of facts, incidents, etc. But the main point he was bringing up is that it's not compulsory for anyone to learn Bengali in schools in Bengal. Therefore, we are not racist. It can't work that way. That's not the only definition of racism. I don't think that's even any definition of racism. Racism is a very specific act you do upon somebody for looking different than you, or for being from a different race, ethnicity, religion, everything. All that's counted as racism today. So you can't help it. Otherwise, the entire Indian race is one race. So by that logic, there can be no racism in India. But that's not the case, right? So I am making the case that either you remember that every race in India is racist, or that nobody is racist in some way. If you want to live in that magical world, face that as well. And also, it needs to be remembered that everything you are blaming other people for doing in the state of West Bengal, Bengalis do those exact same things in USA, which is not in terms of dirtying your streets or whatever, okay? In terms of changing the culture, political, cultural, social landscape of that country, okay? Not integrating, they integrate, but being ungrateful. Those things are also done by Bengalis. So there can be differences in degrees of racism, but everyone's racist to some degree. But another thing also I would like to point out is that I have now personal experiences, lived experiences can't be touted or propagated as actual hard data statistics, okay? It does not mean anything. But in my personal experience, at least, in 32 years that I'm alive in this earth, I have not met one single racist Bihari or UPite person. That can mean a lot of things. Either I have not met enough Bihari and UPite people, which is not the case. I have had countless Bihari UP friends, but I'll tell you some other stuff from my background as well. But it can mean some other things as well. That maybe because they are on the back foot, that since they are always being said that you come from a bad state, you are a dirty person, you come from a dirty state, okay? Your behavior, your customs, your hygienes are dirty, your music is dirty, your art form is dirty, everything about you is dirty, okay? Maybe they are on the back foot so much because of these conversations. That's why maybe they don't feel the courage to be racist to someone else as well at the same time. Or their economy is in shambles. No one really goes to work in UP Bihar that much. Maybe that's why we don't get to hear stories of them being racist to other people. But also, no one really goes to Northeast to study as work that much as well. But people who non-Northeasterners who have studied in Northeast know that that place is pretty racist to people outside the Northeast as well. And other than that, they are extremely, extremely racist to their nearby tribes as well, which we are seeing in the news every day. So I studied in an Anglo-Indian run school with a Nepali majority in the locality, and my neighbor was a Bihari family. So I know, I have a nice grasp on which race is racist to how much. Also, I've never met one single racist Anglo-Indian. But anyway, that does not have to be data. But if you all have met some racist Bihari person or UPite person, let me know. How many people come to West Bengal for work? Actually, plenty, because West Bengal is nearby Bihar, so countless Biharis have forever come to West Bengal to work, and a lot of them have basically not even gone back. When at that time when Bihar and Bengal was the same state, from those eras also lots of Biharis have stayed here, but specifically for work purposes. And even today, Odia, Bihari people, lots of them have their homes and professions in West Bengal. Some for basic daily labor jobs, and others for even transferable jobs and stuff. Everyone is racist in Bharat. To be honest, that's fine. If you do say that, then I have no problem with you. Yes, everyone's racist in Bharat, but at the same time, then stop complaining about one particular race inside India being racist. I guess it all should come down to are you a Bharatiya first, or you are a Bengali / Marathi / Kannadiga first. In that, I'm pretty clear that I'm Bharatiya first. I haven't met a racist Bihari UP wala either. Yeah, I wonder why that is. Probably because now I will not make the case that magically UPites and Biharis are such a brilliant, beautiful race of human beings that they are not racist at all. So my hunch is, I suspect that there are some other socio-political, socio-economic, cultural reasons as well for why they are not racist. The most obvious one that comes to mind is that probably they are on the back foot. But let's just remember for a while that people whom you are most racist against, almost everyone in the country, those people are not racist towards anyone, whatever their reasons. But the truth is that they are not racist towards you. People don't understand racism. Yes. Some blacks have actually realized it. Yes, and people don't understand racism is so true when I see that all the Nepali people Nepali classmates who bullied me for very specifically for racist reasons are all my best friends today. Some of them Hindu, some of them Christian. It's all mixed up. Tamilians even use Vadakans as a slur for North Indian people. Yes. Only Marxists are not racist. Yes. I worked in a office for a while. We had a Bihari colleague, Bihari woman. She had a kid. And her husband used to do a big job of some kind, and so she left her kid and husband, entire her family, and came to Kolkata to earn more money, to give more stability to her family. She used to go back to Bihar at every chance she got. It was not like she hated her husband, that's why she came to the city. And oh my God, all the Bengalis who complain about racism should have spent one day in our office. The amount of racism our entire office did to her, it was basically unwatchable. If you are a decent human being, you would bleed from the eyes seeing how insanely evilly Bengalis behaved with her. Romela Thapar is definitely not. Okay, so today's subchapter is donation of food. Let's see. The sages said, "O Brahmana, O unblemished one, you have spoken to us about Dharma." They are talking to Vyasa, okay? "O supremely eloquent one, we now wish to hear about the progress of Dharma. How do those who perform wicked deeds obtain inauspicious ends? Through what deeds does one obtain an auspicious end?" Vyasa replied, "Under the influence of adharma, if a person performs wicked deeds, his mind is perverse and he goes to hell. However, having followed adharma because of delusion, so by mistake, if a person repents with his mind fixed on samadhi, he no longer performs wicked deeds. As his mind gradually condemns his wicked deeds progressively, his body is freed from adharma. O Brahmanas, if he tells Brahmanas who speak about dharma, about his acts of adharma, he is swiftly freed from those crimes. When a man fixes his mind and speaks about proper dharma, he is progressively released. This is just like a snake casting aside the skin it has formerly enjoyed. If a man controls his mind, immerses it in samadhi, and donates many kinds of objects to Brahmanas, he obtains the destination of heaven. O excellent Brahmanas, even if a man has committed perverse deeds, if he gives donations, he is united with Dharma. I will tell you about this. Among all kinds of donations, the donation of food is said to be the best. An upright person who desires Dharma must give all kinds of food. The life of humans is based on food, and it is through this that creatures are born. The worlds are established in food. Therefore, food is praised. The gods, rishis, ancestors, and humans praise food. By donating food, a man goes to heaven. Excellent food obtained through legitimate means must be given to Brahmanas. With a happy mind, this must be given to those who are engaged in self-studying. With a happy mind, even if a person feeds 10 Brahmanas only once, he does not become inferior species. O Supreme Brahmanas, if he feeds 10,000 Brahmanas, even if he has always been engaged in wicked deeds, a man is freed from adharma. Pretty controversial things here. So, just feed the Brahmana and all wicked deeds, all adharma goes away. If a person who knows about the Vedas uses food obtained as alms, ALMS, bhiksha, invites a Brahmana and gives this to the Brahmana engaged in self-studying, he obtains happiness. O Brahmanas, if a Kshatriya does not cause injury to Brahmanas, properly protects them, controls himself, and gives food that has obtained to Brahmanas who know the Vedas, he has Dharma in his soul. All his wicked deeds are destroyed. If a Vaishya gives Brahmanas what he has obtained through agriculture, after 1/6 has been taken away, he is freed from sins. 1/6 is given to the king, that's why. 1/6 was the tax, so tax at this point when this was written, at least. If a Shudra gives Brahmanas food obtained at the risk of life, even if this means treating his body harshly, meaning he gives the food away even if he has to starve, he is freed from sins. If a person gives Brahmanas food not obtained by birth, meaning it has to be earned by one's own self, not obtained through force and not obtained through violence, he never has to face hardships. A person must happily give food obtained through legitimate means to aged Brahmanas who know about the Vedas. He will then be freed from sins. Food brings energy to the worlds, and a man who donates it becomes energetic. If one follows the path indicated by the virtuous, one is freed from all sins. The path created by donations is the path along which the learned have travelled. Among all donors, the one who donates food follows eternal dharma. In every kind of situation, a man must give food obtained through legitimate means. Food obtained through legitimate means always leads to the supreme destination. By donating food, a man reaches the supreme destination. After death, he obtains the happiness that is characterized by every kind of object of desire. In this way, a man is full of the auspicious and is freed from sins. Therefore, food earned through legitimate means must be given. A householder must always eat food after offering oblations to prana, meaning uttering a mantra for prana, the breath of life, pranaya swaha. Instead of rendering the day futile, a man must offer donations of food. If a man always feeds 100 who are supremely learned in the Vedas, learned about Nyaya, learned about Dharma, and learned about Itihasa, he does not have to go to terrible Naraka, nor does he return to Samsara. After death, he obtains happiness characterized by all the objects of desire. If he acts in this way, he is without anxiety and enjoys himself. He is handsome, famous, and wealthy. O Brahmanas, I have told you everything about the great fruits from donations of food, which form the foundation for all donations and dharma, which form the foundation for all donations and dharma. This is the end of this subchapter. Next subchapter is Shraddha rituals. Let me check some comments. Okay, and I forgot to mention one other point which someone had brought up in the comment sections, saying that how can you say Bengalis are racist at all? Who was extremely surprised that Bengalis are racist. Why? How? So he brought up this point, which is also an age-old complaint against Biharis, that why is their music so misogynistic? Every song is about almost the boobs of a woman. So I actually have thought about it a lot, and I have come to the conclusion that, remember guys, a society that has been impoverished and dehumanized, decimated to such an extent for such a long time. Okay, they were not a princely state. The British government took reign of them. Before that, it was the Islamic kings who were reigning them, and they are not a big let's say a trading hub like Kolkata or Bombay, Gujarat, okay, because they are not near the sea. So a place that was landlocked, okay, landlocked places already have a basic problem. If you read Thomas Sowell, historically landlocked places and places which are higher up in mountains will obviously be disadvantaged in every way, okay, for obvious reasons, for geographical reasons. कोई जा नहीं सकता, आ नहीं सकता आसानी से, okay. So not only is that place landlocked, but it has been decimated to such an extent, economically, culturally, okay, religiously, for so many decades, for so many even centuries, okay. In that society, humor is a big way to cope with things, and all their songs, no matter how misogynistic you find them, are absolutely fucking hilarious, okay. You can admit that. Now humor is of course subjective, but at least you can admit that it was meant to be funny, right? They are not making a serious seductive like even jazz is very seductive, okay. Jazz is meant to be seductive. In many jazz songs are meant to be seductive, okay. There are countless intellectual Bengali poets who talk about women's bodies and women's breasts, okay, and having affairs, okay. All that's just commodifying and objectifying the woman. But even if you don't laugh at Bihari songs, Bhojpuri songs, you can notice, unless you are fucking blind, that it's meant to be funny, because all those guys are laughing in the video itself. The woman, the hero, the audience, everyone. So at least you can understand that it was meant to be funny. And then I'm adding to it that humor is a big coping mechanism for any culture, any religion, any group of people who are facing insane hardships for decades and decades, centuries and centuries, okay. And another big example would be, see, we don't have too many written records from too many societies, right? And societies who write too many written records are usually economically prosperous societies. So you're not going to get any records of hardships in those societies. But there is one. Vikings wrote down something called the Icelandic sagas. In Icelandic sagas, even they are facing insane hardships because of the climate and geography in general. You will find insanely hilarious conversations, dark humor, but hilarious as fuck. Humor was a strong point of the Viking cultures, okay? Viking countries, Viking people. And there you see a similarity. Now, Vikings were not misogynistic all the time talking about breasts or something, but what is funny at that point in the Viking society was used to just write funny things. And maybe in Bihar and UP society today, talking about women's bodies that way is a funny thing. And I don't really think too many women have a problem with it. They also find it hilarious. What a funny thing. And to some degrees, I have seen it with my family as well. People who have seen the much more evil days of India's poverty, and because they were all descendants of Bangladeshi immigrants. So my father, all the elders in my family, okay, I have seen, they find humor in things, or they find things funny which absolutely annoy me, and I can't fathom how the fuck are they laughing at this. And that is their skill set, okay. You have to understand that, yeah, they are doing it as a coping mechanism. They have to laugh at things, otherwise how are they going to, it's become their habit now. How are they going to cope with those situations they have seen with their own eyes? Okay, imagine the day they were asked to go away from the country, or the stresses leading up to the situations to leave the country, okay, from Bangladesh, or the centuries before that, living under Islamic rule, okay, and then coming to the process of coming to this country, then setting up their family here, then all the Nehruvian policies, Marxist policies up until 1991. So imagine a decades of lifetimes of just hardship, evil, poverty, decimated, dehumanized societies after societies. That's all they have experienced. Their sole weapon is humor. Just laugh it away. Whatever sad, insane, mad thing is happening to your life, laugh about it. It's funny that it's happening to you. Otherwise, there's no recourse. No one's coming to save you. So I think Bhojpuri music is always trying to be funny because of that. Let me check some comments. Okay, I'll have to zoom in a little bit. Let me check some comments, 2 or 3 comments, and then I'll get back to Brahma Puran. Okay. This is promiscuous culture. I had a catastrophic debate where I was batting for family-based society, and she was for casual relationship, and she sent me a Times of India article which said 40% married women do sex with other men. When I read it, I found that the sample space was 1500, that too of Mumbai, Kolkata. Yeah, that's too less. Similar thing is written in Tipitak. In fact, similar tones to very extent regarding Brahmanas. Yeah, I get that they had to come up with some countermeasure, because since Brahmanas are not supposed to have property at all, so let's not leave it at chance that okay, whenever you feel some benevolence in your heart, you see a Brahmin on the street and then give him some money. No, let's have a sure shot mechanism for this. Any economically and culturally developed society who has evolved enough to develop things, flesh out ideas, theorize enough, okay, all these societies will do this one specific thing, which is why our elaboration of Varna system as well, that they will have sure shot well fleshed out programs for every idea that comes to mind. These societies don't leave anything to chance, so they were obviously not going to leave to chance a Brahmin getting to eat, okay, so they came up with these systems as well, according to me, to make sure that now Brahmins don't go all hungry and starve to death. Casual relationship is all nice from 20 to 30s. Yeah. Linguist is saying, but bro, why is Patliputra of Magadha described as a prosperous city in Buddhist scriptures? Even Indica mentions that. And you have to understand that it was an exception, right? It was just Chandragupta Maurya and Ashoka because of his brutal tactics to a certain extent. And Ashoka's, I keep forgetting Chandragupta's son's name, Bimbisar or Bindusar. So it was always there was some prosperity because it was at the crossroads of many places, okay. But other than that, it was, and the rivers were much more voluptuous and flowing, and could carry a lot of small boats and a lot of business in those days. Besides, Chandragupta Maurya had a big empire, so that he could access border areas anyway, which led to his led to taxes and his central state being strong enough. So my suspicion is that whatever was Magadha's or Patliputra region's prosperity was because of specifically Chandragupta's empire and his lineage. But Kolkata once, not Kolkata, the Tamralipta region, once it became a region, once it did become a civilization, and even places like Gujarat, all the western parts of the Arabian Ocean, okay, Arabian Sea, Gujarat, Pakistan, those places near the borders, Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, those places have been historically prosperous forever because they were in front of the receiving all business and all the business leaving their country, leaving their places. So because at the very least they get some kind of cut money because of being the place that handles all this amount of businesses, okay. So it's an important thing to notice that after the Maurya dynasty fell, Patliputra's troubles started to begin, and it was never economically prosperous much after that. And even Nalanda could not be saved because it was not economically prosperous. Okay, some things were saved in India, right? Everything was not burned down by Islamic invaders. So the places that were saved probably had that much of defense, and defense comes always from prosperity. So you see, maybe there was not enough prosperity to keep up the defenses of Nalanda University. Husbands. The society may be worse, however, the laws are completely against men in Bharat. Yeah, it's a lose-lose situation for everyone. Dowry, harassment, treason. Yeah, true. Bindusara. Bimbisar was someone else. Yes. Thoughts on the second GOP debate? Oh, Lokavya, you joined a little late. We discussed this entire thing in the beginning of the live stream only. Just check that out. Okay, now Shraddha rituals. The sages asked, those who have left for the world hereafter reside in places determined by their own karma. How should their Shraddha be performed by sons and other relatives? Vyasa replied, I bow down to Jagannatha Varaha, the creator of the worlds. Listen, I will tell you about Shraddha, as it has been described. O excellent Brahmanas, in ancient times, the ancestors were submerged in the waters of the Koka. The river Koka must have been near the Kokamukha Tirtha in the Himalayas. Both the river and the Tirtha were probably in Nepal, I see. The Lord and divinity performed a Shraddha for them there and saved them. The sages asked, why were the ancestors submerged in the waters of the Koka? O Supreme Brahmana, how did Varaha save them in that Tirtha of Kokamukha, which yields the fruits of objects of desire and emancipation? We are extremely curious and wish to hear. Please tell us. Vyasa replied, the ancestors are divine humans. In ancient times, along with the Vishwadevas, during the Sandhya between Treta Yuga and Dwapara Yuga, they were on the slopes of Mount Meru. While they were seated there, a maiden who was Soma's daughter appeared before them. She was divine and beautiful. Okay, a maiden who was Soma's daughter. So this is Soma meaning Shiva and Parvati's daughter, right? A maiden who was Soma's daughter appeared before them. She was divine and beautiful. Joining her hands in salutation, she stood before them. The ancestors spoke to the divine one who had appeared there. The ancestors said, O fortunate one, who do you belong to? Who is your lord? You should tell us about this. Thus addressed by the divine ancestors, she replied, I am Kala. Okay, again, guys, the problem with this penguin publication of the Puranas is that they don't specify which is the double A pronunciation and which is the single A pronunciation. So I don't know if it's supposed to be Kala or Kala. So I am Kala, probably. I am Chandra's daughter. As I wish, I can choose you as my masters. So Chandra's daughter and Soma's daughter, meaning Chandra, so Chandrasekhara, right? Shiva's daughter then. Urja is my first name and the second name is Swadha. Today you have thought of the name Koka for me. Hearing her words, the ancestors, the divine humans, glanced towards her face. But they were not satisfied. The Vishwadevas got to know that they were glancing towards the maiden's face. Realizing that they had deviated from yoga, they abandoned them and left for heaven. The illustrious one with the cool rays was unable to see his daughter, Urja. Illustrious one with the cool rays. So are they talking about Shiva now? Since he's also known as Shipivishta. Soma was the moon deity, na? Yes, but Soma is also... it has something to do with Uma as well. Soma is common word and it be used for even moon, which is most likely in this case. Yeah, I see. Kala most probably, because Kal is masculine. Yeah, true. Anxious in his mind, he wondered. So the illustrious one with the cool rays, okay, was unable to see his daughter Urja, Chandra. We're talking about Chandra here. I don't know if it's really Shiva or not. Anxious in his mind, he wondered, where has the immensely illustrious one gone? Through the power of his austerity, Soma got to know that the ancestors had looked at her with eyes of desire and had accepted her in their hearts. O Brahmanas, Shashadhara, meaning the one who holds the hare, Hare, Shasha, a name for the moon, okay. Shashanka is a variant, okay. O Brahmanas, Shashadhara was extremely angry at the ancestors and cursed them. He said, you will lose your senses, deviate from yoga and fall down. You have been extremely foolish. You have looked at my daughter with eyes of desire, even though she has not been bestowed on you. Had she been virtuous, she would have shown respect towards her father. This is taking a weird turn. Had she been virtuous, she would have shown respect towards her father. Instead, she has independently accepted you as her husbands. She has given up Dharma and will therefore become a river. She will flow in the cold mountains and will be known in the worlds as Koka. In this way, the ancestors, the divine humans, were cursed by Chandramas. Dislodged from yoga, they fell down on the foothills of the Himalayas. Urja also fell down on the extensive king among mountains at the supreme Tirtha that was the confluence of 7 oceans. She was a river named Koka with a strong flow, and there were hundreds of Tirthas along her banks. Along with other rivers, she flowed from the summit of the mountain and was known as Sarit. Sarit means river, derived as something that creeps and glides along. Sarit. O Brahmanas, separated from yoga, the ancestors saw the great river with the cool water. However, they saw the great river with the cool water, Koka. However, they did not recognize the one with the beautiful eyes. The king of the mountains saw that they were suffering from hunger. He instructed a badri tree and a cow to yield flows of honey. There was milk, honey, divine water from Koka and badri fruit. The supreme mountain decided that this would be the means of subsistence. O excellent sages, the ancestors resided there, using this as sustenance. 10,000 years passed as if it was but a single day. The world was without the ancestors, and Svadha had also left, or Svadha. The Daityas, Yatudhanas and Rakshasas became strong. The Daityas, Yatudhanas saw that the large numbers of ancestors had been separated from the Vishwadevas. From every direction they attacked them with force. The ancestors saw that the Daityas and Yatudhanas were descending on them. They angrily seized a lofty boulder and stood on the banks of Koka. When they seized the boulder, Koka used the force of her water to hide the ancestors and flooded the Himalayas. The Daityas and Rakshasas saw that the ancestors had vanished and climbed up Vibhitaka. This seems to be the name of a mountain. Hidden in the waters, the ancestors had no food. They grieved and suffered from hunger and thirst. They saw that they were miserable inside the water. The ancestors chanted hymns to the god Janardana and sought refuge with Hari. The ancestors said, "Victory to Govinda, victory to the abode of the universe. O Keshava, we seek your favors. O Janardana, O one who is unblemished in his powers. You should save us. You should save us from inside the water. O Lord, O one who should be worshipped. O Vaikuntha, O Varaha, O Vishnu, O Narayana, the Lord of everything. O Lord of all the great lords. The roamers in the night are terrible to behold, and we are scared. Please save us. O Upendra, O Yogi, O slayer of Madhu and Kaitabha. O Vishnu, O Ananta, O Achyuta, O Vasudeva, O prosperous one. O one who holds the Shanga bow, the Chakra, the lotus and the conch shell in his hands. O Lord of the gods, save us from the Rakshasas. You are the father of the universe. O Shambhu, the large numbers of terrible roamers in the night are incapable of countering you. We seek refuge with you. As soon as your name is chanted, the roamers in the night and other demons run away. O Vishnu, they head towards destruction, and Dharma and truth become important. They head towards destruction, and Dharma and truth become important. Thus praised by the ancestors, the one who holds up the earth assumed the divine form of a board. The gods saw the ancestors submerged in the waters in Kokamukha, holding the boulder on their hands. In the form of a board, Janardana saw them submerged in the water. Vishnu made up his mind to save the terrified ancestors. Using the tip of his tusks, the board hurled the boulder away. The Lord gathered up the ancestors from under the rock. As soon as they touched the boar's body, the ancestors became as radiant as gold. Thus, in Kokamukha, God Vishnu removed their reason for fear. In that Tirtha to Vishnu, in the form of a boar, the god saved the ancestors. Controlling himself in the place known as Lohargala, Vishnu offered them water. Footnote says that there is a place known as Lohargala in Rajasthan, but this cannot be the same Lohargala. Keshava took some kusha grass that had generated from his own body hair, and sesamum seeds produced from his own sweat. In that desired Tirtha, he created an excellent firebrand that was as radiant as the sun and a vessel. He stood under the gigantic vata tree and used the pure waters of the Ganga. From the lofty summit, he gathered the juices of herbs used in sacrifices. He brought honey, milk, fragrances, flowers, incense, and unguents. He obtained a cow from the lake and jewels from the ocean. He marked the earth with his tusks and sprinkled it with water from his sweat. He marked the earth with kusha grass and repeatedly marked it again with the firebrand. I see. Firebrand. So firebrand का concept India में भी उसको क्या बोला जाता है? You all understand what's firebrand, right? वो एक लोहा गरम करके कुछ लिख देना. So I guess he means some kind of ancient tattooing art or what? The tips of the kusha grass faced the east, while the other ends were in his body hair. He summoned the rishis and asked for their permission to offer oblations to the ancestors. When they agreed, the Lord used mantras to summon the Vishwadevas. The Lord gave them seats. Hari invoked them in accordance with mantras and rites mentioned in the Vedas. The one who wields the chakra and the mace offered akshata for the protection of the gods. Akshata, barley, and herbs have been generated from the portions of all the gods. They protect all the directions. That is the reason they are used for the purposes of protection. Gods, Danavas, Daityas, Rakshasas, Yakshas, and mobile and immobile objects are incapable of doing anything to those who are, thus protected. Since they have not been harmed by anyone, they are known as Akshata. Akshata is grain that has not been dehusked. Okay. उससे नाम हो गया कि अक्षता बोलना शुरू हो गया जो कोई भी जिसको भी कुछ harm नहीं हुआ है. In ancient times, Vishnu earmarked these for the protection of the gods. The boar offered kusha, fragrances, barley, flowers, and arghya. He progressively offered them to all the Vishwadevas and sought their permission. Quote, I invoke the ancestors, those who are divine and those who are humans. End quote. When they agreed to be invoked, he invoked them in that sacred way. The one who knew about the Vedas held the darbha grass and sesamum at the base of the fingers. Footnote says that the part of the hand that is between the forefinger and the thumb is known as Pitri Tirtha. Anything offered to the ancestors is placed there. Okay. He placed his left hand on his left knee and offered them seats. Varaha placed his right hand on his right knee and used mantras to invoke the ancestors. Okay, so he placed his left hand on his left knee. I had heard one accusation from someone saying that Mahabharata is misogynist, etc. That I don't know which characters she was talking about. That why was she asked to sit on the knee? That is so misogynistic and such a sexually suggestive call and hint that sit on my lap. And she was asking this to Bibek Debroy, as far as I remember. And Bibek Debroy got very angry with the girl. She was a young girl. And Vivek Debroy first of all got very angry and he said that you don't understand anything. You don't know how to read Mahabharata. You have no understanding of history of Mahabharata. And you have not read unabridged Mahabharata, etc. And then he said that it was just the way to invite someone to sit down. There was nothing sexual about it. Varaha placed his right hand on his right knee and used mantras to invoke the ancestors. Okay, another footnote says that the text states Pitri Viprana Mayantu. Let the ancestors and Brahmanas come. These are Shraddha mantras given in detail in Garuda Purana. The left is the inauspicious side. Apahata means warding off. This mantra wards off demons and anything inauspicious. Having performed the invocation, He pronounced the names and gotras of the ancestors. After this, Varaha pronounced the mantra to make the ancestors and Brahmanas prosperous, known as Aprayantu, etc. He pronounced mantras used for annual rites and spread out the arghya for them. Let these immortal words make the father of my father remain here. We have translated the mantra loosely. This is Vivek Debroy's footnote. I offered this arghya to my paternal grandfather, to the one who was my paternal grandfather. I offered this arghya to my paternal great-grandfather, to the one who was my paternal grandfather. He offered the mixture of kusha, fragrances and sesamum to the right. Thereafter, Janardana repeated the process for his maternal grandfather. Devotedly, he again worshipped them with fragrances and incense. Pronouncing mantras to the Adityas, the Vasus and the Rudras, the Lord of the universe worshipped them and offered them food in the form of ghee, sesamum and kusha. He placed this in the decreed vessel and sought the permission of the sages. Shall I offer oblations into the fire? They granted him permission to proceed. He offered 3 oblations to Soma, Agni and Yama. He uttered the 7 undecaying shlokas from the Yajurveda, Ye Mamaka and so on. So Shukla Yajurveda for 19.45 and the succeeding shlokas, Ye Samana Samanaso Jiva Jiveshu Mamaka. O Brahmanas, mentioning the name and the gotra, he offered the remaining oblations to each of the 3 ancestors, the 3 generations. He then placed the remaining part of the food in the vessel meant for pinda. He first offered ghee mixed with honey as food for the gods next to the ancestors in the vessel meant for the pinda. With single-minded attention, he offered succulent and tasty food along with payasam to the Brahmanas. The food had a little bit of vegetables and a lot of fruit. It possessed 6 flavors and was like amrita. So the 6 flavors were sweet, sour, salty, bitter, pungent and astringent. He pronounced mantras to the earth, Madhuvata and so on. So Madhuvata Ritayate Madhun Ksharanti Sindhava Madhvirna Santvo Shadhi from Rigveda 1.90.6, loosely translating to may the wind blow slowly, may the wind blow sweetly, may the rivers flow sweetly, may the herbs be sweet for us. What a nice thing to say. When the Brahmana started to eat, he chanted the 5 mantras that begin with Yate. Okay. With the reference to Brihadaranyaka Upanishad that follows, this probably means Brihadaranyaka Upanishad 5.15.1. This doesn't begin with Yate but begins with Hiranmayana Patrena. However, it does have the word Yate in the mantra. Yate is too general to identify a mantra otherwise. Okay, this was Bibek Debroy's explanation. Though he did not chant a lot, he did chant Trimadhu and Trisuparna from Brihadaranyaka. He also chanted the Shaukra Shukta and Purusha Shukta. Trimadhu means Madhu, Vata, Ritayate, etc. mentioned earlier. Trisuparna is usually interpreted as Rigveda 10.114.3 to 5, though sometimes also as part of Krishna Yajurveda. Rigveda 10.114.3 to 5 is a hymn to the Vishwadevas and has 3 verses on the 2 birds, Suparna, 2 birds who are Suparna, Paramatman and Jivatman. Saukya, okay, not Saukya, I read it Saukya. Saurya Shukta, okay. Saurya Shukta or Surya Shukta means Rigveda 1.115.1 to 6, and Purusha Shukta, also found in Shukla Yajurveda and Atharva Veda, is hymn 10.90 of Rigveda. Okay. So they are not really chanting those things, they are just saying that he was chanting that. They are referring to it. When they had eaten, he asked the Brahmanas whether they were satisfied. When they said they were satisfied, he gave them water so that they could break their silence. He offered the vessel for the pinda to the shadow. Footnote says the sun's shadow. Okay, sun, Surya. Shraddha ceremonies are typically performed after midday when the sun's shadow falls on one's feet as one is seated. He divided the food into 2 parts and each of those parts into 3 parts again. Next, Varaha marked out the ground and covered it with kusha grass. He turned the blades of the kusha grass towards the south and spread out a seat on this. Devotedly, he placed the sesamum and the roots on the kusha and adding fragrances and flowers, placed these on the pinda. He said, "May the earth hold this." Saying this, he gave the pinda to his paternal grandfather and his paternal great-grandfather who were in the firmament. The board also, B-O-A-R, okay, Varaha. The board also gave the pinda to his maternal grandfather. When the offering of pinda is complete, the remaining food is to be enjoyed as lepa. Okay, the sun, okay, lepa means wiping. Okay, lepe deva in Bengali. Lepa means wiping. In this case, the wiping of the hand after pindas have been offered. The right to pinda stops with the 3rd ancestor in the lineage. The 4th is no longer entitled, therefore it stops with the great grandfather. Quote, "This is for the ancestors." Saying this, he devotedly offered a new white and washed cloth that was 2 fingers length in size. Offering fragrances and flowers, he performed pradakshina. After this, one should sip water from the palm of one's hand. However, before doing this, Brahmanas, ancestors and gods must be made to sip water first. Along with flowers and akshata, the ground must be sprinkled with water. Sesamum and water must be first offered to the ancestors. Sesamum, water and akshata must next be offered to the ancestors. "May we never decay." This must be said to the ancestors. "May you be pleased." This must be said to the gods. Okay. So ancestors ke liye, "May we never decay" and "May you be pleased." Okay. When they are pleased, he must retreat and perform japa thrice with aghamarshana. Again, I don't know which A should be double A and which A should be single A. This is very unfortunate. Aghamarshana or aghamarshana. Having retreated, he must perform japa with janme. So footnote says this probably means Shukla Yajurveda 19.45 mentioned earlier, since janme means that which is for me. Okay, janme, that which is for me. This may also simply mean the prayer that follows. So the prayer is, "O ancestors, give us homes that are full of wealth and riches. May these bear energy." Saying this, he placed the sacred vessel for the arghya and pinda in the waters of Koka. Using the cold milk, honey and sesamum, he offered water to the ancestors. After offering water to the ancestors on that solar day, the god who holds the club gave silver and dakshina to Brahmanas. They said, "May you be fortunate." They also said, "Divide what has been left among humans." He asked the best among Brahmanas, "Is everything complete?" They replied that it had been. He asked, "Are you pleased?" They replied that they were. He asked the Brahmanas about the remaining food and they said, he is Varaha, okay? He asked the Brahmanas about the remaining food and they said, "Along with your followers, eat it." He held them by the hand and led them outside the altar. He used his right hand to sprinkle his mass of hair with water from Kotitirtha and sought their benedictions. Kotitirtha is a place where there are crores of tirtha. Okay, now it seems obvious. Kotitirtha. They replied, may those who give to us prosper." The boar honored their feet and performed pradakshina. He gave them a seat and covering so that they could rest. The Lord then entered and took the middle pinda. He offered this to the shadowy form who was the earth's wife. The beautiful one accepted this and said, "May the ancestors enter my womb." When she accepted the pinda, he honored the feet of the Brahmanas. The boar thought that he would let the ancestors leave. However, Koka and the ancestors thought about what what would be good for them and spoke to him. Quote, O illustrious one, earlier when we were in the firmament, we were cursed by the cool sun. Cool sun meaning the moon, of course. Okay. We were cursed by the cool sun, Soma. You will deviate from yoga and all of you will be dislodged from the firmament. We entered Rasatala, but you saved us. O one who protects yoga, since we deviated from yoga, the Vishwadevas abandoned us. The text says the lords of the universe, that is Vishwadevas. May the Vishwadevas always protect us again. O Lord, O Board, through your favors we will go to heaven. O Soma, O Supreme God, O one who holds up yoga, O reservoir of yoga, may Soma save us so that we never deviate. Through yoga, may we always reside in the firmament and on earth. May some of us obtain nourishment in the firmament within a month. Urja is our wife and will be known by the name of Svadha. She possesses excellent yoga. She will be the mother of yoga and will roam around in the air. End quote. The ancestors spoke in this way to Varaha, the creator of beings. Vishnu spoke to the ancestors and to the great river Koka. He said, everything will be exactly as you have wished. Yama will be your supreme deity. Soma will be the one who instructs you. And Agni will be thought of as a divinity who presides over sacrifices to you. Presides over the particular sacrifices which are addressed to you. Your abodes will be Agni, Vayu and Surya. Brahma, Vishnu and Rudra will be the divinities who protect you. The Adityas, the Vasus and the Rudras will be your forms. You will be the yoga in the bodies of yogis. You will be reservoirs of yoga for those who are excellent in vows. You will roam around as you will, distributing fruits among creatures. Those in heaven, those in Naraka, those on earth and mobile and immobile objects. Through the strength of your yoga, you will occupy the best of places. Urja, the daughter of the moon, has been fashioned out of honey. This immensely fortunate one will become Daksha's daughter Svadha. Oh God, Daksha's daughter now. This one, beautiful in face, will be your wife. Famous as the river Koka, she will flow in the king of mountains. Protected by my form, she will be immensely sacred and will have 1 crore of tirthas. From today, I will reside there, destroying all sins. The sight of the sacred Varaha and his worship grants objects of pleasure and emancipation. The drinking of the waters of Koka destroys great sins. Bathing in that sacred tirtha and fasting grants heaven. The benefits of donations are infinite and destroy birth, death and old age. In Krishna Paksha, in the month of Magha, when there is no moon, on the day of Amavasya, one must go to Kokamukha and remain there for 5 days. If a Shraddha to the ancestors is performed at that time, there is no doubt that the fruits mentioned earlier are reaped. I will always stay at that spot on the 11th and 12th lunar days. If one fasts there for 2 months, the fruits mentioned earlier are reaped. O immensely fortunate ones, therefore you can now go wherever you wish to. I will reside here. End quote. Saying this, he vanished. When Varaha had left, the ancestors took their leave from Koka and left. Koka, along with the Tirthas, resided on that king of mountains. The womb of the shadowy form of the earth prospered from partaking the Pinda. Faithfully, the beautiful one conceived from Varaha. Aha. She had a son known as Bhauma Narakasura. Vishnu bestowed on him the city of Pragjyotisha, Assam. Okay. Bhauma Narakasura was bestowed. So Pragjyotisha was bestowed on Bhauma Narakasura. I see. I have thus described to you the divine Varaha from Vishnu, divine Varaha form of Vishnu, the granter of boons in Kokamukha. On hearing this, a man becomes unblemished and is purified of all sins. He obtains the fruits of 10 horse sacrifices. Varaha Rupam Daiva Varishtam. Now next subchapter is called Shraddha Rituals Continued. Shraddha Rituals Continued. Interesting. We'll finish the Brahma Purana today, okay? This is volume 1. Only a few pages left. This will be fun. Okay, let me check some comments now. Anytime a subchapter is too long, it takes you to a whole other world. I don't know what the experience is like listening to it on your phone or laptop, wherever you're listening, but reading this directly, you visualize so many things. Your brain is working like a rocket. You think of how this is relevant today and what are the metaphors, what are the realistic things. Even if it's a realistic thing, imagining those visuals, it's a whole other trip. Let me have some coffee and check some comments. I read somewhere that Prag-Jyotisha is Iraq, and it's a consensus that Baghdad name came from Baghadatta. Even if that is the case, it does not have to be a surprise, really. It might make sense if there is enough historical backing, of course, if there's enough evidence. But I am saying that it just might be that there can be enough historical evidence, because we are repeatedly seeing that whatever important spot is mentioned in any Hindu scripture is randomly named in any spot anywhere in the country, right? Because the people of those places want to have that value attached to their place, right? Which is why in Bengal we have a place called Ayodhya, okay, in Purulia. So it would perfectly make sense that there would be more than one place called Prag-Jyotisha in different parts of the world, at least different parts of this country, wherever our Hindu civilization was. If mangakas actually get their hands on Hindu texts, there will be gazillion comics made on Hindu texts. Only that would fire popularity of Hinduism. For that we need funding in right-wing areas. Yes. It's because how complicated and long Hindu texts are. Generic people don't read it often. Laziness definitely, unlike other religious texts which are pretty simple to decipher. Yes. Yeah, actually, let's talk about this in terms of an analogy from the world of music, okay? Acoustic guitar, any guitar is probably the easiest instrument to learn in terms of, let's say if you want to learn it for a few months and start to play a song on it. For that, guitar is possibly the easiest instrument in the world, and you can come off sounding kind of pro, that wow, he's playing the accompaniment correctly, he's playing the rhythm correctly, and he's singing. Yeah, it seems like a guy we see on TV. But in order to play truly great guitar is as difficult as any other instrument. In the same way, Abrahamic faiths have I have the Bengali Bible. It's this small, okay. Some Bibles are a little thicker with much more commentary. So if you want to know the gist of Christianity, you have that small Bible, okay. Or just read the Quran and you get a large gist of Islam. But then if you want to be really a devout Christian or want to know all about Christianity, then you read all the countless Gospels and Hadiths, etc. But our to hai to not book of not a religion of a book, we are a religion of a library. Basic जानने के लिए इतना पढ़ना पड़ेगा. Godank is saying the use of same words for multiple different things is a weakness of us Hindus. These needs to be streamlined. Yes, I agree. New Sanskrit words be made and a common consensus. Absolutely, 100% agree. Okay. Bengalis are 100% the most jingoistic racist people I have ever met. Well said on UP. Bihar is not being racist. Okay, so just for a bit of context, Aprophromuk, what ethnicity are you? Are you saying this as a Bengali as well, or as a Bihari or some other ethnicity? Aure bhai, aur kitna adjectives? Yes. Okay, just look at Ganda Berunda. So many European nations, Germany, Poland, Australia, have similar two-headed eagle symbols. Such carvings have been there since pre-Roman era. Just coincidence? Not about the city's history, but Baghdad name came from Baghadatta. In Russian language, Bog means God. I see. Which came from Bhaga. Oh dear God. When we get Bhagwan. Oh shit. Even Baramulla district in Kashmir, it came from Varahamula. We were just discussing Varaha only. Okay, so now Shraddha rituals continued. The sages asked, O illustrious one, In detail, please tell us again about the rituals for Shraddha. O store of austerities, how is it performed, by whom and for whom? Vyasa replied, O tigers among sages, hear in detail about the Shraddha rituals. I will tell you about how it is performed, where, when and by whom, and about the required objects. Brahmanas, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas must perform Shraddhas using mantras according to what has been decreed for their own Varna and their own Dharma. Women and inferior Varnas like Shudras must perform them according to the instructions of Brahmanas. The rituals must be followed. However, for them there will be no mantras and no sacrifice involving the fire. O Brahmanas, they must be performed in tirthas like Pushkara, sacred houses, the summits of large mountains, sacred regions, the sacred waters of male and female rivers, lakes, the confluence of rivers with the 7 oceans in one's own house when it has been smeared, in places for which one has obtained permission, near the roots of divine trees, and ponds where sacrifices can be performed. These are places where Shraddhas can be performed. There are places that are said to be prohibited. The lands of Kiratas, Kalingas, Konkanas, Krimis, Dasharnas, Kumaryas, Tanganas, Krathas, the northern banks of Sindhu, the southern banks of the Narmada, and the eastern side of Karatoya. Okay, this is pretty strange now. I think this part is one of the more ancient sections of the earliest Brahma Purana. Okay, the overall what the Brahma Purana I have in my hand was basically a compilation, probably sometime that ended at around 13th century. But listen to this part. Up until a few chapters ago, they were basically saying that Odisha is one of the best places, Utkala Kshetra, etc. Right? Now they are saying stay away from basically lands of Kalingas and eastern side of Karatoya. Eastern side of Karatoya is basically Bangladesh. So this is an entirely about, let's say, I think 2000-3000 year old section, guys. It is said that Shraddhas must not be performed there. Every month, Shraddha must always be performed when there is no moon. On the day of the full moon, a Shraddha should be performed during Riksha Gochara. What is Riksha Gochara? Riksha Gochara meaning transit, Gochara, Gochar, yeah, of a nakshatra. Okay, Riksha Gochara has an astronomical interpretation. The most obvious interpretation is when the transit of the nakshatras is auspicious. O Brahmanas, men perform Nitya Shraddha without the gods. Naimittika is done along with the gods. Nitya Shraddha is the one that is regularly performed on Amavasya and days of the eclipse. The Vishwadevas are not invoked for this. Naimittika is the annual Shraddha performed on the death anniversary or sacred days that one chooses. Kamya Shraddha is done for a specific purpose or desire. Vriddhi Shraddha is performed on special occasions like birth or marriage. I see, there are different kinds of Shraddhas. Interesting. There are also Nitya Naimittika, Kamya and other Shraddhas that are performed every year. Vriddhi Shraddha must be performed at the time of birth, and other rites. RITES. O Brahmanas, for these, an even number of Brahmanas must be honored and invited. When the sun enters Kanya, meaning Virgo, 15 days have formerly been identified as appropriate for Shraddhas. Pratipada or Pratipada is for obtaining wealth. The first day of the lunar fortnight. The other days follow in sequence, second and so on. Okay. So Pratipada is for obtaining wealth, Dvitiya for offspring, Tritiya for sons, Chaturthi for destroying enemies, Panchami for obtaining prosperity, Shashti for a man who wishes to be honored, Saptami for becoming the leader of a group, Ashtami for supreme intelligence, Navami for obtaining women, Dashami for satisfaction of all desires, Ekadashi for obtaining knowledge about the Vedas and all the rites. The worship of the ancestors on Dvadashi ensures victory, and on Trayodashi, the ceremony must certainly be performed for an increase in offspring, animals, intelligence, independence, excellent nourishment, a long lifespan, and prosperity. If a Shraddha ceremony is faithfully conducted, there is no doubt that these are obtained. If a person died while young, or if he was killed through weapons, if the ancestors are to be pleased, Shraddha with food must be faithfully performed on Chaturdashi. If a man purifies himself and carefully performs Shraddha on Amavasya, he obtains all the objects of desire and heaven for eternity. O best among sages, after this, listen to my words. I will tell you about what brings pleasure to the ancestors. With Havishya food is that can be offered as oblations. It is food that can be offered as oblations. It is simple and has no seasoning. I see. It is only eaten on special occasions, such as when a vow is being observed. So with Havishya food, the ancestors are satisfied for a month. With Havishya food, the ancestors are satisfied. Oh, the sentence is just written 2 times. I see. Interesting. Maybe a mistake. With fish and meat, the paternal ancestors are satisfied for 2 months. With fish and meat, the paternal ancestors are satisfied for 2 months. Know that the meat of deer satisfies the ancestors for 3 months. With the flesh of hares, Hares, so rabbits, the ancestors are nourished for 4 months. The flesh of birds satisfies them for 5 months, and that of boar for 6 months. Boar meat is being recommended here. Goat meat satisfies them for 7 months, and Ena, meaning black antelope, Ena flesh for 8 months. There is no doubt that the meat of the Rudu antelope satisfies them for 9 months. The meat of Gavaya is kind of ox, Gavaya, satisfies them for 10 months. The flesh of sheep satisfies the ancestors for 11 months. The milk of cows and payasam satisfies them for a year. There is no doubt that the flesh of a rhinoceros, the flesh of the red goat, jute, jute meaning, we have translated Kalaksha as this Corcorus capsularis, though it might mean something else. So the word actually mentioned was Kalashaka. So they have translated it as jute. There is no doubt that the flesh of a rhinoceros, the flesh of the red goat, jute, honey, rice mixed with meat, or rohita fish offered by a son's descendants or a daughter's descendants, or a shraddha performed in Gaya, satisfies the ancestors for an infinitely long period of time. Honey and mixtures of honey bring eternal benefit. May someone be born in our lineage who offers us oblations of water and payasam mixed with honey during the monsoon at the time of Magha Nakshatra. The ancestors are wishing this, okay. One should wish for many sons, even if one of them goes to Gaya, marries a girl who is a Gauri, a girl who is 8 years old, releases a blue bull, or worships the ancestors at the time of Kritika Nakshatra, men obtain heaven. A Shraddha ceremony in Rohini Nakshatra ensures offspring. In Saumya, one obtains energy. There is no nakshatra named Saumya. This is a reference to Mrigashira, which used to be known earlier as Soma. I see. Mrigashira. Mrigashira meaning, Shira means head, Mriga means deer, right? So a deer head of a deer, or one who has a head of a deer. So Saumya, it was basically referring to Mrigashira. In Ardra, one obtains valor. In Punarvasu, one obtains fields. In Pushya, one obtains inexhaustible wealth. In Ashlesha, an excellent lifespan. In Magha, offspring and nourishment. In Phalguni, good fortune. In Uttara, one becomes generous and obtains offspring. So Uttara is the Uttar Phalguni. Okay, the earlier reference was to Purva Phalguni. I see. A man who performs Shraddha in Hasta obtains excellence in the sacred texts. In Chitra, one obtains beauty, energy, and offspring. In Swati, Svati, okay? In Swati, there are gains through trade. Or maybe Swati, maybe Swat Valley has come from this or what? In Vishakha, one always obtains sons. An observance in Anuradha makes a person a Chakravarti. In Jeshtha, one obtains lordship. In Mula, there is excellent health. In Ashadha, there is fame, especially in Uttara. The fame is more in Uttara Ashadha than in Purva Ashadha. Okay, so that sense Uttara. In Shravana, there are auspicious objects of desire. In Dhanishta, one obtains great riches. In Abhijit, one becomes knowledgeable in the Vedas. In Varuna, one obtains success as a physician. Okay. Shatabhisha, Varuna being the older name. Okay. So basically, in Shatabhisha, one obtains success as a physician. Varuna was the older name. In Proshtapada, one obtains goats and sheep. In Uttara, one obtains cattle. Again, Uttara Proshtapada, which is also called Bhadrapada. The earlier reference being to Purva Proshtapada. In Revati, one obtains metal vessels. In Ashwini, one obtains horses. And a person who performs Shraddha in Bharani obtains an excellent lifespan. A person who knows the truth knows about these fruits in different nakshatras. O Brahmanas, therefore, depending on one's desires, the rituals of Shraddha must accordingly be observed. If there are great desires, the ceremony must be performed when the sun enters the sign of Kanya, so Virgo. A man who desires anything must perform a Shraddha ceremony when the sun enters the sign of Kanya. All the wishes are satisfied then. A Nandimukha ceremony, a Shraddha ceremony specific to ancestors known as Nandimukhas. A Nandimukha ceremony must also be performed when the sun enters the sign of Kanya. In accordance with Varaha's words, it can also be performed on the day of the full moon. Then the sun enters the sign of Kanya, and the ancestors in heaven, on earth, in the firmament, and in mobile and immobile objects desire Pinda. When the sun enters Kanya for those 16 days, any rituals performed are equal to those from royal and horse sacrifices. Those rare fruits are obtained. The divinity Narayana has said this. When the sun enters Kanya, the ancestors must be worshipped with water, vegetables, and roots. ROOTS, okay, roots. When the one with the sharp eyes, sharp rays enters the nakshatras of Uttara or Hasta, if a person devotedly worships the ancestors, he resides in heaven. So Uttara and Hasta is, in this case, since this is in the context of Kanya, Uttara should mean Uttara Phalguni, which straddles Simha and Kanya. Okay, the lion signs. Leo and Virgo. Simha and Kanya, okay. When the sun enters the nakshatra of Hasta, on the instructions of the Lord of the ancestors, the city of the ancestors is empty until Vrishchika is seen. Now, Lord of the ancestors in this case is Yama, and Vrishchika is Scorpio. Yeah. When the sun has crossed Vrishchika, the gods and the ancestors return, cursing because of their extremely intolerable miseries. The ancestors temporarily leave, expecting the Shraddha. When the Shraddha is not performed, they are unhappy and curse their progeny. In the Manvantaras, beginning with the mother, in due order, one must perform Ashtaka and Anvashtaka Shraddhas. Okay, this is a huge footnote. Ashtaka is the 8th lunar day, but during Krishna Paksha. Ashtaka Shraddhas are typically performed during the months of Margashira, also known as Agrahayana, Posha, Magha, and Phalguna. Margashirsha is roughly mid-November to mid-December, while Pausha is mid-December to mid-January, Magha is mid-January to mid-February, and Phalguna is mid-February to mid-March. Anvashtaka Shraddhas are performed on the 9th lunar day in those 3 months during Krishna Paksha. Okay. During an eclipse, at the time of Vyatipata, when there is a conjunction between the sun and the moon, and when the planets make one's natal nakshatra suffer, it has been said that a Parvana Shraddha must be performed. Parvana Shraddha is that performed on a special occasion, okay, a specific Parvan. Following the rituals, Shraddhas must be performed when one ayana changes into another, when the sun enters the vernal or the autumnal equinox, and at the time of Shankranti. However, these Shraddhas must be performed without offering Pinda. A man must follow the rituals and perform Shraddha on the 3rd day of Vaishakha, the 9th day in Kartika, the full moon day, and at the time of Shankranti. With Payasam, Shraddha must be performed on the 13th day of Bhadrapada and at the time of Amavasya in Magha, as is done during Dakshinayana. When a learned Brahmana who knows about the Vedas arrives in one's house, one must follow the rituals and perform an excellent Shraddha with him alone. No other Brahmanas are required for the purpose. Okay, when a learned Brahmana who knows about the Vedas arrives in one's own house, one must follow the rituals and perform an excellent Shraddha with him alone. When objects approved by the virtuous for a Shraddha have been gathered, as has been decreed, Supreme Brahmanas must be used to perform a Parvana Shraddha. Every year it must be undertaken on the day when the father or the mother died, and also for the paternal uncle and the elder brother, if they died without having sons. In Parvana Shraddhas, the gods are first offered oblations. Ekoddishta ceremonies are performed without the gods. What are they? A monthly rite continued for 1 year, Ekoddishta ceremony. For those with gods, 2 pindas must be offered, one for the gods and one for the ancestors. For rites to the ancestors, 3 or 1 pinda can be offered. For a maternal grandfather, the rituals are identical to those that have been described. When a person has died, his son must place pinda, water, sesamum and kusha grass on the ground outside the house and near a body of water. On the 3rd day, along with the brahmanas, the bones of the dead person must be gathered. Asthi, the bones and ashes left after cremation, okay, so not literally bones. Asthi. The purification is done on the 10th day for a dead brahmana, on the 12th day for a kshatriya, and on the 15th day for a vaishya. For a shudra, the purification happens after a month in a house where there has been a childbirth. Purification happens for in a house where there has been a childbirth. Ekoddishta is recommended on the 12th day, at the end of a month, and at the end of 3 fortnights. O Brahmanas, for a year, the Shraddha ceremony must be performed every month. After that, in due order, one must undertake Sapindikarana. Okay, this is described in the next chapter. Once Sapindikarana has been performed, it has been said that Parvan Shraddha must be undertaken. After that, the dead move from the state of being a preta to the state of being an ancestor. It has been said that ancestors are of 2 types, manifest and unmanifest. Nandimukha ceremonies are for those who are not manifest, while Parvana rites are for those who are manifest. Pretas subsist on Ekoddishta rites. These are the 3 kinds of ancestors that have been determined. 3 kinds of ancestors. Pretas, next subchapter is called Offering Pindas. Wow, not much left. Phagun in Hindi, yes. Just remember the sannyasi telling that one cannot go to Kalinga unless for Tirtha, so it's not necessarily a time difference. Interesting. It's correct translated regarding meat, as some is written in Kalpa Vedanga like Gautam Dharma Sutra. Ashada is Ashada, yes. I learned about Shodash Upachar Vrishabh Dan, Dan Sagar, Dvija Dampati, Vivaha as types of Shraddha from Tarana Tantric. Oh, I thought Riksha means three wheeler. Please have an episode on marriage and family as the principal bedrock society versus casual culture spreading. Yeah. Okay. Offering pindas. The sages asked, O supreme among Brahmanas, how much sapindikarana must be done? How must sapindikarana be done? O supreme among eloquent ones, what are the rituals for performing this for those who are dead? Vyasa replied, O Brahmanas, listen to my words about sapindikarana. This too is without the gods. A single sacred arghya is offered. There is no use of the fire. There is no invocation. To the right, an odd number of Brahmanas are fed. In addition to these monthly rites, there are other specific things. O supreme among Brahmanas, I will tell you about these. Listen attentively. There must be 4 vessels filled with sesamum, fragrances and water. O Brahmanas, 3 of these are for the ancestors and 1 is for the preta. Okay, the person who has died and has not yet become an ancestor. Each of these vessels must be sprinkled with some water for the preta's vessel. While this is being done, from the beginning to the end, one must perform japa with ye samana. It has been, or ye samana. It has been said that for women too, water and the other things must be offered. However, if they did not have sons, sapindikarana is not done. Every year, men must undertake ekodishta for dead women. Following the rituals ordained for dead ancestors, the task must be done on the death anniversary. If there is no son, sapindas can perform the ceremony. Okay. In the absence of a son, a sapinda can perform the rite. So there is a long list of those who are sapindas, such as in the absence of a son, a daughter, a daughter's son, a father, a mother, a brother, a brother's son, and so on. So a daughter is a sapinda or sapinda. Yeah, sapinda, right? Or pinda is yeah. So I don't know. It's whether it's sapinda or sapinda. Interesting. So girls, daughters can do rites, last rites, or shraddha. If there is no son, the rites can be properly undertaken by a daughter's son. Okay, yeah. A daughter's son can also perform the ceremony for a maternal grandfather. When it is performed for a maternal grandfather or a paternal grandfather, it is known as Dvya Mushiyana. Dvya Mushiyana. Following the rites, they, meaning the grandfathers, must be worshipped through a Naimittika funeral ceremony. If there is no one else, women can perform the rite for their husbands but without the use of mantras. If they are also not there, the king must ensure that all the rites are properly undertaken by those from the family. If they are also absent, the rites can be properly performed by men who are from the same class. The king is a relative of all the varnas, thus if no one else is available, the king can do it himself. O Brahmanas, I have thus spoken to you about Nitya and Naimittika rites. Now hear about the funeral rites for other shraddhas, those that are Nitya Naimittika. When the moon wanes, the learned, meaning the Brahmanas, know this time as Darsha, the time of Naimittika. Darsha is the night of the new moon, but this also signifies that the moon will now wax. Permanence is Nitya. There are elements of both the temporary and the permanent here. So, when the moon wanes, the learned know this time as Darsha, the time of Naimittika. But since this also indicates its permanence, this is hence the time for a Nitya Naimittika rite. A father's great-grandfather and those above him are not entitled to sapindikarana and to pindas offered to ancestors. They are not entitled to this. They can only feed on the lepa, whatever was left in their hands. Lepa means wiping. In this case, the wiping of the hand after the pindas have been offered. The right to pinda stops with the third person. Yeah, we did this already. Anyone else who is 4th generation upwards becomes lepa bhuja. one who feeds on the lepa. There is no longer any link, and this is the only kind of enjoyment possible. It is known that there are three kinds of men who are linked through the pinda: the father, the grandfather, and the great grandfather. The others, the grandfather's grandfather upwards, are linked through lepa. Including these three generations, the person performing the ceremony is the seventh in the line. The sages have thus laid down the connection for these 7 generations. Those who are further up from the person performing the ceremony enjoy anulepa. Anulepa is pinda for 3 generations, lepa for 3, and anulepa for beyond. Okay. There are other ancestors who are residents in hell or have been born as inferior species or are bhutas. The person performing the ceremony must follow the recommended rites for all of them through the shraddha. O Brahmanas, I will tell you rites for all of them through the shraddha. O Brahmanas, I will tell you how each of them is satisfied. When men place food down on the ground, those who have become pishachas are satisfied through this. O Brahmanas, when a garment is wrung after taking a bath, the drops that fall on the ground satisfy those who have become trees. When drops of fragrant water fall down on the ground, this satisfies those who have become gods. When a pinda is raised, the drops of water that fall down on the ground satisfy those who have been born as inferior species. There may be children in the lineage who have died. Though they deserved to have rites performed for them, they were deprived. They are suffering and are satisfied from the water scattered during sweeping. After eating, Brahmanas rinse their mouths with water. Others obtain satisfaction from this or from the water used for washing their feet. The departed ones who have been born as other species are thus satisfied in the respective lineages they have been born in, through what the person performing the sacrifice does, or through what Brahmanas do, through the sprinkling of food or water, pure or impure. Impure as in uchishta. Okay? Jhutha bolte hain jisko. O Brahmanas, they are satisfied when the shraddha is properly performed. There are men who undertake shraddha ceremonies with wealth earned by other people. This satisfies those who have been born as chandalas or pulkasas. O Brahmanas, in this way, many relatives are satisfied, even from the water sprinkled at shraddha ceremonies. Therefore, a man must faithfully follow the rites and undertake a shraddha ceremony to the best of his capacity, even with vegetables. If the required shraddha ceremony is undertaken, no one in the lineage suffers. Brahmanas who are self-controlled and versed in Agnihotra must be invited to shraddhas, such as a distinguished and learned Brahmana, a person learned in the Vedas, a person learned in Trinachiketa, one who knows the 3 madhus, one who knows the 3 suparnas, one who knows the 6 Vedangas, a person who is devoted to his parents and his own sisters, and a person who knows the Samaveda. So Trinachiketa is a part of the Yajurveda. The 3 madhus are the 3 verses in Rigveda 1.90.6 to 8. And the 3 Suparnas are the Taittiriya Aranyaka. I see. The officiating priest, the family priest, the Acharya and the Upadhyaya must be fed first. Both the Acharya and the Upadhyaya are teachers, but there is a hierarchy. An Upadhyaya is just a teacher, whereas an Acharya is a guru. The invitees to a Shraddha, meaning the guests at the Shraddha, are the maternal uncle, the father-in-law, the brother-in-law, a person who teaches a group of villages, a Brahmana who teaches a congregation, those who know about the meaning of the Puranas, those who have no desire, those whose desires are satisfied with a trifle, meaning with little things, and those who do not receive gifts. So, a person who teaches a group of villages is translated from the word Drona Pathaka. Okay. The word actually was Drona Pathaka. Brahmanas are the ones who purify groups. Therefore, the best of Brahmanas mentioned earlier must be invited on the preceding day. They are the ones who must be engaged for rites connected with the gods and the ancestors. They must control themselves, and so must the person performing the Shraddha. If a person offers food at a shraddha and after eating it indulges in sexual intercourse, for an entire month his ancestors lie down on that semen. If a person has intercourse with a woman and then offers food at a shraddha and eats it, for an entire month his ancestors drink semen and urine. Therefore, the first task for a wise person is to issue the invitations. Until the day arrives, all association with women must be avoided. In the course of time, self-controlled mendicants will arrive for alms, ALMS, Bhiksha. Controlling his mind, he must prostrate himself before them. He must please and feed them. In that way, a learned person will feed yogis. The ancestors have a foundation in yoga. Therefore, yogis must always be worshipped. If there is a single yogi among 1000 brahmanas, he can make the person performing the sacrifice and the invitees cross over, like a boat across the water. Those who know about the Brahman, recite a chant about the ancestors. Earlier, the ancestors sung this about King Aila. The chant is, "We are always eager. When will a son be born? Who will offer us a pinda on the ground from what is left after a yogi has eaten? When will a pinda be offered in Gaya? When will we get the great offering of the flesh of a rhinoceros? When will we be satisfied for a month with jute, kalashaka, sesamam, or krisara? As an oblation to the Vishwadevas and Soma, the flesh of a rhinoceros is supreme. We desire the flesh of a rhinoceros, from the color of the horn on the head to the feet. In the month of Magha, following the rites, the ceremony must be performed on the 13th day. During Dakshinayana, payasam mixed with honey and clarified butter, meaning ghee, must be offered. Therefore, with a controlled mind, a man must faithfully worship his ancestors. One then obtains everything that one desires and is cleansed of all sins. When the ancestors are satisfied through a shraddha, the Vasus, the Rudras, the Adityas, the Nakshatras, the planets and the stars are pleased with men. When the ancestors are satisfied through shraddhas, they thus bestow long lives, offspring, wealth, learning, heaven, liberation, happiness, and kingdoms. The ancestors preferred the afternoon to the more than the forenoon. The brahmanas who have arrived at the house must be welcomed and honored. With hands cleaned and with kusha mats, he must make them sit down on their seats. Following the rites, after the shraddha has been performed, those excellent brahmanas must be fed. Devotedly prostrating himself before them, he must speak to them pleasantly and give them permission to leave. He must follow them up, he must speak to them pleasantly and give them permission to leave. He must follow them up to the door and return only when they have granted permission. After this, the Nitya rites must be performed and guests fed. Some excellent people wish to perform Nitya rites for their ancestors. Others say these should not be undertaken for ancestors, but that the other rites must be performed as mentioned earlier. Even there is no consensus inside the Brahma Purana. Even Vyasa is saying that there's a disagreement among different people about this particular issue. Some say the rites for the ancestors should be done separately. Others say there is no need for this, but the rites must be performed as mentioned earlier. A man must eat the food along with the servants. A man must eat the food along with the servants. A person who knows about Dharma controls himself and undertakes a Shraddha ceremony from the ancestors in this way, so that the foremost among the Brahmanas are satisfied. I will now tell you about the worst of Brahmanas, who are to be avoided. A person who harms his friends, one with diseased nails, one who is impotent, a person suffering from tuberculosis, a person suffering from white leprosy, one who lives by trade, a person who has dark teeth, a bald-headed person, a person who is one-eyed or blind, a person who is deaf, dumb or foolish, a cripple or lame person, one who is an eunuch, a person with diseased skin, one with a crooked arm, a leper, a red-eyed person, one who is hunchbacked, a dwarf, one who is ugly, a lazy person, one who is an enemy to his friends, one who is from a wicked lineage, one who herds animals, one who is malformed, a person who has married before his elder brother, an unmarried elder brother whose younger brother has got married, the son of a woman whose husband has married before his elder brother, the husband of a Vrishala. While this means Shudra, it also means outcast. The husband of a Vrishala and the son of such a person. Any such Brahmana should not be invited to a Shraddha, nor should one invite a person who has officiated at a Samskara of a Vrishala's son, a person who has not married, a person who has married his brother's widow, a person who receives a salary as a teacher. You are not supposed to receive a salary as a teacher. If you receive a salary as a teacher, you are looked upon with that much of evil eyes. You are looked down upon that to that extent. One who has been taught by a salaried teacher, a person who lives off his daughter, one who is a hunter, a person who sells soma, a person who has been cursed, a thief, a fallen person, one who lives off usury, a deceiver, a person who indulges in calumny, one who has abandoned the Vedas, a person who has abandoned the fire and the donations, a cruel person, a person who is a priest or servant to a king, one who is devoid of learning, an envious person, a person who hates the aged. One who is a servant to a king is also a problem. One who is a priest. A person who is a priest to a king, a person who is a servant to a king. Even they are not supposed to be called here. Interesting. One who is devoid of learning, an envious person, a person who hates the aged, a person who cannot be tolerated, one who is harsh, one who is foolish, one who earns his living off an idol, an astrologer who studies the nakshatras, one who makes arrows, a censured person, one who performs sacrifice for those who are not worthy of sacrifices, a eunuch, it's a repetition, one who is condemned, and one who is inferior. They basically mentioned every kind of person. Such people should not be invited to Shraddhas. Doctors and surgeons are looked as fallen Brahmins, as Nrishangsha Prasad Bhaduri said. Nrishangsha Prasad Bhaduri. That's probably because of multiple sex, I guess. Yeah. Such people should not be invited to Shraddhas, since they defile the gathering. If the wicked are honored and the virtuous are not shown respect, destiny instantly brings down a terrible rod of punishment. The sacred texts have clear guidelines. If one abandons these and feeds a foolish person, he gives up the original Dharma, and such a giver will be destroyed. If a Brahmana has sought refuge and a person abandons him and feeds someone else, the giver is destroyed from the sighs, sighs, meaning neglected, of the neglected Brahmana, size of the neglected Brahmana. Okay, sigh meaning वो जो बंगाली में दीर्घश्वास बोलते हैं, the ऐसा नहीं हुआ, that disappointment sigh. So that sigh of the Brahmana will be also very unlucky for you. If a Brahmana has sought refuge, has asked for refuge, and a person abandons him and feeds someone else, the giver is destroyed from the sighs of that Brahmana, which are like flames. When garments are not donated, rites, sacrifices, Vedas, austerities do not exist. Therefore, garments must be given, especially at the time of Shraddhas. If a person makes large donations of silk or cotton garments at a Shraddha, he obtains excellent objects of desire. Just as a calf hunts out its mother from a multitude of cows, the ancestors hunt out the food from the Brahmanas who have eaten. Though the ancestors are dead, they are offered food along with mantras, with their names and gotras mentioned. This is conveyed to them, and they are satisfied. Conveyed to them by the Brahmanas. Quote, for the gods, for the ancestors, for the great yogis, I bow down. Swaha, swaha. I always bow down. I bow down. End quote. At the beginning and at the end of the Shraddha, japa must be performed thrice with these words. When the pinda is offered, he must control himself and perform japa in this way. At this, the ancestors arrive quickly and the Rakshasas run away. In the three worlds, the mantra pleases them and saves them. A garment made out of new silk or cotton thread or hessian must be given, but a silk garment that is woven out of thread must be avoided. So these two sentences are difficult to understand and made refer to the type of loom. If there is no fringe to the garment, a wise person avoids it. This does not please the ancestors, nor does it bring benefit to the donor. A pinda must not be offered to an ancestor who is alive. Following the rites, he must be fed the food that he desires. Full of faith and devotion, a man must offer the pinda into the fire. If he deserves offspring, he must get his wife to offer the middle pinda after the mantras have been recited. If he deserves to be radiant and supreme, he must offer the pinda to cows. If he desires wisdom, fame and deeds, he must offer it to the water. If he desires a long lifespan, he must offer it to crows. If he desires sons or a house, he must offer it to cocks. Some Brahmanas also say that the pinda must be held from the front. The pinda must be lifted up in accordance with what the Brahmanas desire, with their permission. A shraddha must always be performed in accordance with what the rishis have said in earlier times. Otherwise, there are taints and the ancestors do not remain there. To worship and satisfy the ancestors, a learned person will give the following in a shraddha: barley, paddy, sesamam, masha, wheat, chickpea, mudga, shyamaka, mustard, nivara, hastishimika, which is some kind of unidentified grain. Okay, hastishimaka, priyangu. This cannot be the creeper, which is a kind of a plant, so it probably means saffron. So priyangu. Prasatika, a kind of rice with small grains, or prasatika, and trinika, probably meaning betel nut. Carefully, the following fruits must be given in a shraddha: amra, amrataka, bilva, dadima, bijapuraka, old amalaka, kshira. Kshira, this is milk. This does not belong in the list of fruit. It might therefore mean the fruit of the ashwatha tree. Kshira, narikela, parushaka, which is a coarse fruit, difficult to identify. Vatsaka, fruit of the kutaja tree. Kharjura, draksha, nilaka, which is the Indian fig. Kapithaka, patola. This must be a typo and should be patala, that is fruit of the trumpet flower tree. Okay. Priyala, a vine. Karkandhu, which is वो जुजुबे और होहोबे बोलते हैं जिसको, हुहुबे, करकंधु. Badri, Vaikantaka. Vaikantaka is a kind of tree, and Naranga. O Brahmanas, the following are appropriate for a shraddha and should be offered: treacle, sugar, unrefined sugar, molasses, parched rice, meaning murmura. Okay, parched rice. Is that supposed to be chire or muri? Parched rice, the milk of cows, curds, ghee, sesamum, oil, rock salt from the ocean, rock salt from the lakes, pure fragrances, sandalwood, aloe, kumkuma, the herb known as kalashaka, grain after threshing, unhusking and winnowing, objects like roots and wild vegetables. O Brahmanas, the flowers that can be given are appropriate for a shraddha. The flowers that can be given and are appropriate for a shraddha are jati, champaka, lodhra, mallika, bana, barbari. Barbari is the name of a tree. The leaves of ashoka, tulasi. Tulasi is of course holy basil. Tilaka, purifying shatapatras. So with 100 petals, a lotus. Shatapatras. Fragrant shefalikas, kubjaka, tagara, mriga. Mriga is unidentified. Wild ketaki, yuthika, and atimukta. One must carefully offer kamala, kumuda, padma, pundarika, indivara, kokanada, and kallara. Kallara is, these are different types of lotuses. Kamala is a lotus that blooms during the day. Kumuda is a lotus that blooms during the night. Padma is a lotus. Indivara is a blue lotus. I see. Kokanada is a red lotus. Okay. And Kahlara is a white lotus. I did not know. No, interesting. The appropriate fragrances are said to be sulfur, mansi, nardoschis jatamansi. This is the scientific name. So Nardostachis jatamansi, also known as spikenard. क्या है ये सब? Manasi. So the scientific name is also using the Indian name only. Nardostachis jatamansi. Okay. So Manasi, Valaka, a kind of perfume. Kukkuti, probably a fragrance derived from the silk cotton tree. Jatipatraka, nutmeg. Nalikeshira or Nalikeshira is a fragrant root. Granthipurni is a fragrant root, and Sundari, a kind of tree. Guggula, sandalwood, Shrivasa, aloe, and Rishi Guggula are also appropriate. So Shrivasa is a fragrance derived from a lotus. Rajamasha, Chanaka, Masura, Koradushaka, Viprusha, Markata, and Kodrava should be avoided. Okay. So Rajamasha is a kind of bean or rajma. Okay. Chanaka is a variety of chickpea. Masura is masur. Okay, masur dal. Masur dal should be avoided. Koradushaka, also known as Kodrava, is a kind of inferior grain. Viprusha probably means grain that is marked in some way, and Markata is a kind of grain. So these should be avoided. Interesting. So Masura is masur dal. Curds, milk, and ghee from female buffaloes, yaks, deer, sheep, an animal without cloven hooves, women, and camels must be avoided. Okay. From fruits from Tala, Varuna, Kakola, Bahupatra. Bahupatra again is probably lotus because many patras. Bahupatra, Arjuna, Jambira, Red Bilva, and Shala must be avoided. Okay, let's check the translations. Varuna is Crateva, Nurvula, Kakola is Coculus indicus, and Bahupatra is onion. Wow, so layers are the patra. So Shatapatra was called lotus, and Bahupatra is onion. In particular, fish and the flesh of pigs, tortoises, and cattle must not be used. One should avoid anything that is foul, musk, and rochana. Rochana meaning a yellow pigment. Red sandalwood, yellow sandalwood, strong fragrances, white frank incense, olibanum, kumari. Kumari is several plants are known by the name of kumari. Okay. Kirata is a medicinal herb. Carrot, turnip, tamarind, sorrel, varuma. This cannot be identified. Chanapatrika, this cannot be identified. Oris, Orris. Shatapushpa. Shatapushpa is anatham, sova, or dill, dill. Shatapushpa, Shatapushpa, anything with a hollow stalk. Gandha Shukara, this cannot be identified. Halabhritya, this cannot be identified. Mustard, onion, garlic, Manaskandha, Vishaskandha. Manaskandha and Vishaskandha are different varieties of Colocasia esculenta. So many plants. Vishakandha, Vajrakandha, Gadasthika, Purushalva, and Sapindalu. All these are to be avoided. Okay. So all these cannot be identified as well. All these are mentioned as unidentified. These should not be used in a Shraddha rite. In a Shraddha ceremony, one must not use bottle gourd, Gourd. Tiktaparna is Caparis trifoliata, or anything with bitter leaves. Okay. Tikta is bitter. Parna is leaves. So Tiktaparna. Pumpkin, Katukatraya or Katukatraya. What's the word? Let's see. Literally the three bitter objects. A mixture of ginger, black pepper, and long pepper. Katukatraya. And brinjal, Shivajata, hairy vata, black and red complexioned cranes. Okay. So Shivajata is probably meaning Myrobalan. I don't know what that is. And red complexioned cranes. This doesn't quite fit, so it is possibly balaka. So it is possibly balaka, and has some other meaning, or has some other meaning. So many things had to be left untranslated for even Bibek Debroy. Shiva Jata, hairy vata, black and red complexioned cranes. The fruit of Vibhitaka must be avoided in Shraddhas. Oh, excellent ones! Something that has a sharp taste could not be given at a Shraddha, nor Kovidara or Shingru. Okay, Shingru, a kind of pot herb. One should not give something that is excessively sour, slippery, harsh, or raw. Nor should one give something that has lost its juices. The smell of liquor must be avoided. One must avoid asafoetida that has a strong smell, Phanisha, Bhunimba, Nimbarajika, bad tumberus from Kalinga, and sour Vetasa. Acha, okay, let me check the translations now. Phanisha is this might mean food that is frothy, but probably means opium. Phanisha. Okay. Afim was called opium, so who knows. Bhunimba is Andrographis paniculate. Nimbarajika is a large species of nimba known usually as Gandharaja. Okay, so Gandharaj lebu. Nimbarajika. Nimbarajika. Okay, so therefore, yeah, Nimba is the nebu bolte hain. So lemons are Nimba. Rajika, so the king of lemons, small lemons. Gandharaj lebu. Bad tumburus from Kalinga. ये क्या है देखते हैं. Bad, a long gourd, Gourd, gourd. Bad tumburus from Kalinga, and sour Vetasa. It is Batasha. Citron, Citron. Dadima Magdhi. Magdhi is a type of orange. No, Magdhi is long pepper. Dadima, Magdhi, and Nagara is a type of orange. Ardraka is ginger. Yeah, adrak. Okay, adrak word आया है ardraka से. Ardraka, tittidi, tamarind. Tittidi is tamarind. Amrataka, jivaka is of course a medicinal plant. And tumburu can be given. Payasam, Shalmali is probably meaning the gum of the silk cotton tree in this case. Okay. Mudga, Modaka, tasty drinks and milk should be faithfully offered. O Brahmanas, one must offer what is tasty and pleasant. Something that is slightly sour and slightly bitter can be given at Shraddhas. Something that is excessively sour, excessively salty, bitter and pungent is food for asuras. It is potro, probably meaning petal or leaf. Lotus is called shotodal, 100 petals. Asapodeda probably means hing, of hinger kochuri. Yeah. Scientific name of Indian T-Rex, Rajasaurus. Yeah. To be honest, Bibek to me seemed to know a lot about Indian vegetation, as name of plants is really difficult as we don't use many terms from Sanskrit in our language that much. Yes. Okay. This is food for asuras, though excessively sour, excessively salty, etc. These should not be used in Shraddhas. Something that is sweet and pleasant, tasty, even if it is sour or bitter, is food for the gods. Okay. Something that is sweet and pleasant, tasty, even if it is sour and bitter, is then still food for gods. These should be used in Shraddhas. The meat of a goat, Vartika, partridge, hare, jackal. Okay. This contradicts what is said later. Okay. But this word Shiva can mean nothing other than jackal. Perhaps there was some differentiation within jackals. I see. So let's see what's written. The meat of a goat, Vartika, partridge, hare, jackal, lavaka and rajiva can be used in Shraddhas. Vartika and lavaka are two different kinds of quail. Rajiva is a kind of deer. Rajiva is also a kind of fish. But since this sentence is about flesh of animals, we have interpreted it as deer. It might as well be fish because flesh of fish only. Okay. It has been said that the flesh of a rhinoceros, a red jackal, a red fish with scales, and simhatunda fish. Simhatunda fish can be used in Shraddhas. Manu has spoken about the use of the Rohita fish, a kind of carp, commonly known as Rohu. Okay, Rui Mach, right? So, Rohu ka naam aaya hai Rohita fish se. Rohita se. However, Brahmanas should not use it for Havya or Kavya. O Brahmanas, I have said this in accordance with what Varaha has said. If one eats the food I have indicated as prohibited, one goes to the hell named Raurava. O stores of austerity, the following have been prohibited by Varaha. They should not be eaten by Brahmanas and should not be offered to ancestors. They are Rohita, meaning Ruimach, Rohu fish, Rohita, pig, tortoise, iguana, swan, Chakravaka, Madgu, fish without scales, osprey, anything without bones, Vasahari. What is Vasahari? This probably means a donkey, though this identification is speculative. Vasahari, cock, Kalavinka, peacock, Bhadradvaja. Bhadradvaja क्या है? Skylark. Sharangaka. Okay, Sharangaka is a kind of bird. Mongoose, owl, cat, lopakas, a kind of jackal, and other things extremely inauspicious. Titibha. Titibha is of course a kind of bird. Jambuka is a kind of jackal. Tiger, bear, and hyena. If an evil-minded person eats these and other greatly tainted objects, he commits a great sin and goes to the hell named Raurava. If an evil-souled person offers this condemned flesh to his ancestors, he ensures that his ancestors are dislodged from heaven and descend into hell. If he, okay, just 2 pages left. If he eats vegetables mixed with kusumbha, kusumbha is safflower. What is safflower? Safflower. So many things to learn. If he eats vegetables mixed with kusumbha, jambira, shingru, kovidara, pinyaka, viprusha, masura, grinjana, shana, kodrava, kokilaksha, chukra, kambuka, padmaka, chakora, the flesh of a hawk, vartula, alavu, talini, or the unripe fruit of a palm tree, he goes to hell. Let's check out the translations now. Pinyaka is, this has multiple meanings but probably means oil cakes. What the hell is that? Oil cakes. Grinjana is turnip, also a variety of garlic. Shana is hemp, so cannabis basically. Kodrava, kokilaksha. Kokilaksha is a kind of shrub. Chukra is tamarind. Okay. Kambuka is a shell with 2 valves. So shankha, or the shell of a slug, I guess. Padmaka is this probably means the drug known as Padmaka. Okay. Then Vartula. Vartula is a kind of pulse, so a kind of dal. Alavu is a bottle gourd, Gourd, and Talini is this probably means toddy. If a man offers these to his ancestors along with them, he goes to a place that is full of pus, Raurava. Therefore, a learned person must make every effort not to have these. For the sake of the ancestors, Varaha himself has lovingly prohibited these. The sages have said that it is better to offer one's own flesh instead of these things. Therefore, out of love, a man must not offer these prohibited items of food. O Brahmanas, if inadvertently or out of confusion he has eaten these prohibited items once, he must perform a rite of atonement. For this means prashchitta, right? For a week, every day he must subsist on fruits, roots, curds, milk, buttermilk, cow's urine, and barley. This must also be done if he has made Brahmanas eat these prohibited items. In particular, Vishnu's devotees, so Vaishnavas, must purify their bodies in this way. O store of austerities, according to one's capacity, one must avoid the prohibited items and perform a Shraddha ceremony. If a man follows the rules and performs the Shraddha according to one's powers, all the creatures in the universe, beginning with Brahma, are satisfied. The sages asked, if the father is alive but the grandfather and the father's grandfather are dead, how will the Shraddha be performed? Please tell us about this in detail. Vyasa replied, just as the father would have performed the Shraddha himself, his son should undertake it in exactly the same way. In this way, the Dharma of the Vedas and customary Dharma does not suffer. The sages asked, O Brahmana, if the father is dead but the grandfather is alive, how should Shraddha be performed? You should tell us. Vyasa replied, he must offer pinda to his father and feed his grandfather. Okay? He must offer pinda to his father and feed his grandfather. He must offer pinda to the great grandfather. This is the determination of the sacred texts. The dead must be offered pinda, and those who are alive must be fed. However, in such cases, Sapindikarana and Parvana Shraddha must not be performed. If a man undertakes the sacrifices meant for the ancestors, okay? If a man undertakes the sacrifices meant for the ancestors, there is no doubt that he swiftly attains a long lifespan, and number of sons and his wealth increases. O Brahmanas, if a man reads this account of a sacrifice to the ancestors at the time of a Shraddha ceremony, his ancestors feed on his food for a period of 3 yugas. I have thus described what has been thought of as a sacrifice to the ancestors. This destroys sins and enhances good merits. At the time of a Shraddha, a person must control himself and hear it and recite it. This is the end of volume 1 of Brahma Puran. And next day we will start volume 2. This was pretty thick. How many pages? Let's see. 540 pages. Wow. So I still haven't finished one. Oh, I have read Manusmriti, but that was a bit abridged. I forgot names of flowers and plants and animals except for some basic ones. So cows you didn't drink is real. I thought only Mahua Moitso did that. I never had Sanskrit class per se. It was Bangla grammar only. Yeah. By the way, Dada, I have a question. What do you think regarding the date of Chandragupta Maurya around 1500 BC based on Matsya Purana and Vishnu Purana? Yeah. If Chandragupta Maurya is from 1500 BC, doesn't then that validate the other now debunked idea that Chandragupta was a contemporary of Alexander then? Right. When was Alexander? I don't know exactly, but I think that is the case. If Chandragupta is from 1500 BC, I don't know. By reading Arthashastra, it doesn't seem like 1500 BC. 1500 BC would have been much less developed. Who knows? But I'll read up on this and check out some other. Alexander was 327 BC. Okay. If Alexander was 327 BC, then how was Chandragupta Maurya a contemporary of Seleucus Nicator? I'm getting confused now. Then how was Arthashastra written during 300 BC? Seleucus Nicator was much after Alexander, right? How is this going to work? No idea on this. But like we take Chandragupta I of Gupta dynasty. We'll read some comments and then go offline. Indica is incomplete book. Yes, Indica is incomplete book, and it has many weird, fascinating, fantastical things also written, I guess. I've heard, right? Yeah, dating things can be tough, and especially texts, because who knows which section is written, added later on, and so I guess they use the astronomical descriptions to determine when the book was written, right? But when that particular section of the book was written is only what's determinable by the astronomical description. Gupta the first around Alexander is traditional viewpoint. Yeah. So when was Seleucus Nicator then? If Seleucus Nicator was much later and Alexander was at 327 BC, then why do they then people claim that Arthashastra was written at around 300 BC? How much later was Seleucus Nicator? Just at least 200 years, right? It's not like it was a 500 year gap, so it doesn't matter much. At 1500 BC for Chandragupta Maurya would be interesting. Then of course Arthashastra is also written much earlier. But there are some historians who claim that Chanakya was also not a single person or even a real person. He also was Chanakya effectively became the term for any great advisor for a king. There are some viewpoints like that as well. That different people started getting called Chanakya, and so Arthashastra is probably also written by different people. Seleucus Nicator was around 20 year. Gupta around Alexander. Yeah. Okay then. Good night, guys. Thanks a lot for joining the live stream. This was a great discussion. We finished volume 1 of Brahma Puran. I'm excited to start Brahma Puran 2. And as soon as Brahma Puran 2 ends, we will start History of Indian Philosophy, complete that. Good night, guys.